Ladies and gentlemen, so today we've got the response on why Kabam are not allowing 4-star champions in Act 6, and to put it quite frankly, it's a load of rubbish. But I'm not just going to say it's a load of rubbish. I'm going to explain in a excessive amount of detail today why all of these points are so incredibly weak and mostly irrelevant to the case, and mostly just dance around the question. There's nothing really direct here. It's just a load of really weak stuff, and I'm very disappointed. I'm so disappointed in this response. It's just I thought this response was going to be bad. I thought there's no valid argument, but this is weak, man. This is so incredibly weak. So anyway, let's break it down, man. I wanna cover all of this. So Kabam Goggy starts off with, "Hey everyone, thank you all for the discussion on this topic. There's been a lot of constructive feedback and thoughts, and it's been valuable to us for considerations and internal discussion. We wanted to be clearer with our intentions and better clarify why we want to do this and how it aligns with our past direction in the game. This is not the first time we've hard-gated something behind a form of progression. We use gates liberally, oftentimes to prevent players from having a frustrating experiences in content beyond their capabilities, but also because we're game developers and we have some intended play experiences in mind that we, through both iteration and personal gameplay experience, believe smooth out the ride and make the whole thing as enjoyable as possible." At level 50 to 60, it's easy to forget that for much of an early player's experience, they are bumping into padlock icons all over the quest menu. A multitude of our arenas cannot be played without specific champion rarities, and to be competitive requires a lot of them or a lot of units. Normal and heroic difficulty event quest are locked behind levels 12 and 25 respectively. Master was for a long time gated behind the 100% exploration of its heroic counterpart. Uncollected difficulty requires not only reaching level 40, but completion of Act 5 Chapter 2. Even entering beginner asks you to be level 6. Now, what do all of these points have in common? They're just completely irrelevant for the most part. It doesn't matter. And the thing is, with all of these, they're fairly reasonable requirements to get into the content. They don't take much time. You can do all of this stuff with a little bit of time and a little bit of dedication there. It's not reliant on you pulling very good 5 or 6-star champions in order to get through and smash out this content. And there's a very simple solution. It kind of, you know, from this paragraph, it makes them being like, oh, we're gonna have to restrict it to 5 or 6-star champions because we're worried that some beginners are gonna download the game and waltz straight into Act 6, just completely ignore the rest of the content. And there's a very easy solution to that. Just unlock by completing Act 5. There we go, sorted. Fix that one for you, mate. But you could also, if you want to go a step further as well, and I really don't think this is required, but you could go unlock by 100% completing Act 5, because, you know, it's not that much of a step up, and in terms of the ideal progression path, it still makes sense for people to 100% Act 5 before they go on to the upgraded difficulty of Act 6, so you can have that requirement. But the point is that Act 6 is so deep in the game that people aren't going to be waltzing in, so this is just completely negligible. It just is a rubbish point. It's weak. It just dances around the question. So to have that as your opening point, man, is rubbish. Now, to carry on reading, and this is just looking at the monthly event quests, dungeons need you to have a sizable count of certain rarities before you can access the very same ones. Side quests follow similar locking mechanics to the monthly event quest, and we've used gating methods before into quests, dimensional rifts and their shards, and more explicit danger room rarity requirements, the current Recon missions to craft a specifically targeted experience or to more tightly tune the content we're making. On the topic of tuning, this is our goal when using more stringent requirements in Quest. Back issue number 1, aka Ultron's Assault variant, used this explicitly with the class requirements. We did this so we could build areas in each quest where lesser used champions could stand out. Hawkeye's power drain capabilities in Chapter 1, Quest 1, for example, and be important for strategy where they would normally not be. We're aiming to do a similar thing in back issue 2 with a bit of a different approach. Now, The thing is, and people have raised this point on Variant, I'm fine. I'm actually fine. I don't mind class requirements. Because when it comes to class requirements, you're specifically building content around 2 classes and all the champions in that class and the counters to them. And at the moment, with the first issue of Variant, if you do not have the 5-star version of that champion, 4 stars are significantly more accessible, not only to get, but also to awaken as well, and unlock the utility that comes with the champion, the synergies. And at the moment, if you get unlucky with a 5-star or 6-star pulls, I don't mind the restriction on Variant, because I have upgraded certain champions in my roster, both on the main account and free-to-play account, and 4 stars are viable for Variant content. They work. So it's very accessible once you get to endgame and you've got nothing else to do, to rank up 4-star champions to get through Variant. And to give you some examples of characters that I personally ranked up and used for Variant Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. In Chapter 1, I used 4-star Archangel on Seatin, 4-star Hawkeye and Rogue on Whale Milker 27. Chapter 2, I used my 4-star Stark and Aunt Spider-Man on Whale Milker, also my 4-star Scarlet Witch as well. When it came to 100%, I used 4-star Magic, and she was great. Chapter 3, I used 4-star Hyperion on both accounts when I didn't have kind of a higher accessible version of that character. 4-star Gladiator Hulk put in so much work for me there, and just did such a great job on the free-to-play. 4-star Hela was very, very good for the first chapter on both the free-to-play and Seatin, and I also used the 3-star Heimdall as well. But aside from that, 4-star champions are significantly more accessible, and loads of other people have ranked up 4-star Void, 4-star Cap Infinity War, Ghost, Corvus, Star-Lord, Aegon, and many more kind of god-tier, beyond god-tier champions that have specific utility that they haven't been able to luck out and obtain in a 5-star version to get through the Variant content. So I think that the class restrictions, while they suck a little bit, the fact that the content is specifically made and tuned for them is reasonable, and it creates a good challenge and a different way to play, which, most endgame players can, fill those gaps of utility in their roster with 4-star champions that they can grind out from the basic arena, or luck out and pull in 4-star crystals, which again are substantially more accessible than the 5-star ones at the moment. So that's kind of the big thing there. Now, the next couple of paragraphs kind of come across as a little bit of a word salad that don't really address the question and just completely dance around it as well. So anyway, to continue reading, man, one reason we do this is because of how progression changes over time. Once you've reached level 60, we lose a numerical value of your time and experience in the game. The gap between a fresh 60 and a veteran 60 can be massive, just like in many other MMO games. One of the best ways we have to continue using those gates as both protective and progression measures is targeting the baseline strength and breadth of your roster. But it's not really like helping the breadth of your roster if you're cutting off all the 4-star champions of it. You're mainly focusing on baseline strength and randomness when it comes to pulling good 5-star and 6-star champions. Now, to continue reading again, Act 6 and other content is built with specific challenges in mind. The requirement of 5 and 6 stars is a broader application of the idea, but it allows us to build a more tightly constructed experience around a more specific box of playstyles. Making one-size-fits-all content for an immense player toolbox can lead to things becoming more and more watered down and general, rather than the specific moments we can make when we know the lower and upper limits of each player as a matter of fact. Again, this paragraph is just a load of rubbish. A load of complete rubbish there. Now, let's look at 2 examples. Let's compare the Crystal Opening Whale to Whale Milker 27, my free-to-play account. Now, the Crystal Opening Whale has a ton of dosh, mate. The man is loaded. He's buying all the new 5-star champions. He's got all of the 5-star champions on their own to bring in for the utility at a higher power level than the 4 stars can achieve, but also he gets the benefit from all of the synergies as well. And there are an absolute ton ton of champions that heavily benefit or in certain circumstances rely on those synergies. So that alone gives him an absolutely massive advantage in comparison to poor old Whale Milker 27. You know, he's a free-to-play player, he's trying to get by, he's got a 5 and 6 star roster, he's missing a lot of synergies that he could bring in for his 4-star roster, a lot of kind of core utility in terms of like power drain from my Hawkeye, danger sense from my Blade as well when it comes to dealing with certain very, very annoying villain matchups, which is so useful for the very first chapter. I can't bring in my Scarlet Witch, my Sabretooth, and there's just so much stuff that's restricted in terms of my Medusa as well. I can't get the full champion synergy there, whereas, you know, Crystal Opening Whale, he can get the full Medusa synergy. If we look at my Luke Cage as well, the champion synergy, I couldn't benefit from that on my free-to-play account, but Crystal Opening Whale could. And again, the examples, they just continue and continue. It's such a huge and unnecessary disadvantage to just outright ban 4 stars. And it comes across as A, so lazy and so greedy, and making the argument that it's balanced around not being able to use 4-star champions is a complete load of crap. Because that just doesn't make any sense at all, because 4-star characters are just weaker versions of the 5-star champions. And it's not like there are any characters as 4-star that are just game-breakingly absolutely insane that aren't available as 5-star champions. All of the cheese methods and crazy stuff does exist in the 5-star champion roster if you have the money to shell out and buy more 5-star crystals and get those characters. So this one is just rubbish, mate. It's absolute rubbish as well. Lastly, this is permanent content. When we place strict requirements on a side quest, it's a gold rush. There's only 30 days to build or enhance a team for the quest in question, and it can be a real crunch to get it done. And this next bit in brackets, you straight up, dude, you shouldn't have put this, man. This is a very bad thing to admit for somebody that is, you know, our communication for the designer on the end game of Act 6, and I'll quickly explain why. He says, I myself am going to have a hell of a time with the Avengers leg of the Recon missions, and that's the first one, man. We've got Avengers characters, we've got Guardians of the Galaxy characters, and if you're at a stage where you don't have one good Avengers or Guardians of the Galaxy character ranked up to deal with Ultron, I jump to the assumption that your account is not very far in the game at all, and that you do not understand the struggle of endgame Marvel Contest of Champions. Again, just reading that from the perspective of somebody that, you know, can absolutely easily get this done on my main account and also my free-to-play account as well, and I've seen a lot of mid-tier accounts smash this out. Typing something like this, it makes me feel like you don't play the end game much. So again, just brutal honesty there, nothing super personal, but typing that, it just, you know, that's the conclusions that I draw from it. So Act 6 is going to be around forever, and if you can't get into it right away, that's alright, it'll wait for you. Again, I appreciate the discussion around this, and when we say we're taking your feedback, we mean it. When there are lots of opinions and discourse around a topic like this, we take it seriously. I've already had 2 meetings today to chat about it with a variety of teams. I hope my points better explain our stance on gating content and why we feel comfortable doing it here in the way that we are. So the majority reaction is lol, and that's for a good reason, man. That's my reaction as well, because you've just danced around the issue. You've not provided any concise answer of why 4-star champions shouldn't be allowed in Act 6. This is just, for the most part, a complete word salad, and just comes across as you're not understanding kind of a lot of the frustrations and just providing some really, really weak responses. So again, that's my personal thing, but also, like, the way that this has been communicated as well is just a massive slap in the dick to a lot of people, and I feel this frustration as well, because you've told people 1 week before the release of Act 6 that 4-star champions aren't going to be allowed, and if this was something on the cards, you should have communicated it about 6 months earlier, so people know not to rank up 4-star champions now, because 4-star champions have substantially less value. This should have been aired at least 6 months before, so people know that their 4-star champions now have an upper limit to the game. But they shouldn't have an upper limit to the game, because it makes no logical sense, aside from the fact that you want people to spend more money on 5 and 6-star crystals, or they're going to be substantially disadvantaged in comparison to Crystal Opening Whale and myself on the main account, people that have massive massive rosters and can just outright buy all these champions left, right, and center. So it's just rubbish. It's so rubbish. And the fact that you communicated this 1 week before and people for Variant and Act 5 and all sorts of content still rank up 4-star champions to fill gaps in their roster is just absolute rubbish, man. And the fact that you've been selling like high tier 4-star rank up gems, 4-star awakening gems, all the materials, the fact that in the featured crystal right now you've got a 95% chance to get something that is lower than a 5-star, so you've got a 95% chance to get a character that you can't use in the future of the game. That's just absolute rubbish, man. And there's no valid reason for why you shouldn't be able to use 4-star champions in Act 6 aside from all of this completely irrelevant waffle for the most part. So I'm not at all impressed. This is a really, really weak response, and I really hope you're open to feedback. This needs to be removed. This needs to be lowered to 4-star, 5-star, and 6-star champions. I can understand, I think not allowing 3-star champions to a certain extent, that's reasonably fair, but not allowing 4 stars is just a straight up greedy cash grab. Now, I want to end this video by directly addressing Kabam. You guys, over the last couple of years, have done a lot of really, really good stuff. There's been so much great content, so many fantastic improvements to the game. Like, you guys did such a good job on a lot of the champion buffs the last year and a bit. I liked a lot of Act 5. I thought it was really, really fun. The collector fight still sucks massive dicks, though, and 5.3 is a little bit boring. But aside from that, there's a lot of good stuff, and I'm never afraid to give credit where it's due, because I believe, for the most part, you guys have gotten a lot better than you were a few years ago. However, this is a huge step backward. It's completely unjustified, absolute rubbish, completely dicks over a lot of free-to-play and mid-tier players that rely on 4-star champions for utility and synergies, and completely rewards those players who have incredible expansive 5-star rosters and are willing to just spend a crap ton of money on the game. And that shouldn't be the direction of the game. The game should be about skill, it should be about strategy, not how lucky you can get in the 5-star champion crystals or how many 5-star champions you can buy for synergies. It's just complete rubbish. So please revert this decision. Please lift the ban of 4-star champions in Act 6. It's completely unjustified, and by doing this, you're just putting the game in a worse direction. And I want to be the biggest fan. I want to be the biggest fan. I want to be the biggest advocate of Marvel Contest of Champions, but I can't do that if you're making absolute crap decisions that you can't even properly justify. So I'm just really, really disappointed, not only that this surfaced initially, disappointed by this response, and I really hope that you strongly consider doing this, because the community, there's just such an upset brewing at the moment, and I just, you know, we're just past the days. Let's have an honest conversation about this, and this is just rubbish, man. This is so rubbish. Such a bunch of crap. So I'm really disappointed, man. So disappointed. At the end of the day, I just want a fair game that's like a good experience from everyone, from the free-to-play players to the massive whales, and making this type of decision that further screws over free-to-play and mid-tier players and the average grinder, and even further rewards the big old blubbery whales by giving them even more power, even though they've got huge advantages already with all these offers and champions and signature stone bundles. You just infinitely buy everything up. There's such a massive advantage already to being a big old blubbery whale that you don't need stuff like this in place. It's just completely pointless, and it only serves to aggravate people and just make people more disinterested in your game. So I'm just, again, Kabam, just really take this one seriously, man. Proper have a think, have a chat about this, and I really hope that you come to a good decision on this one. But aside from that, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.